right, guys, on this episode of The Peak, we're sitting down with Marquise, an artist whose music feels less like a moment and more like a timeline, from no options to held down, from coming this way to lone nights. His record don't rush the story, they document it. Marquise makes music for the in between hours, the quiet person, the self doubt, and the patience it takes to keep going when nobody's watching. This isn't about the overnight success, it's about what happens when you stay rooted long enough to grow. Today we're talking the process, the perspective, and the real experiences behind the songs. This is Marquise, and welcome to The Peak. I want to jump right into it. How are you feeling today, Marquise? You feeling good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you for having me, man. I'm feeling amazing today. Glad to be alive. Glad to be above ground. Another opportunity in the day to do what we love to do.
What we
Spread this
love to
joy in
do.
this content creation music.
Yes, sir, man. I did some nice content creation myself here to continue it. And so we want to know, if someone pressed play on your music without knowing your name, what you do in life, or anything like that, what do you think that they would think first when they hear your music?
Energy.
Energy.
Energy before anything. And I pride myself on making sure that I don't approach my songs with the lack thereof of energy. I think it's real important to really establish that connection of the feeling and getting it across in the song. And I feel like if you just approach it with that lack of enthusiasm and that no energy mindset, you're not going to get your point across, and people can tell when you're kind of just going along and putting something on a beat versus when you're really feeling something and putting your all into a song. So I would definitely say energy before anything, for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way when I listen to it. The first time, a lot of the titles, they feel like moments, like I said in the beginning, not just songs, no options, lone nights, held down. What was the first no options moment in your life that you felt like you had to bet on yourself when you had no other options?
It's crazy because that song actually was really the song that kind of put me on this path for me to start taking that serious, man. I was at a point in my life where, I had just lost my pops. And things was kind of down for me, man. I had went through some things in life after that, made some decisions and things. I was kind of at a crossroads, and I was just kind of, like, look, man, I really don't got a choice. I got to make something else happen. Like, I can't just keep giving myself these excuses to, make my life this way. I don't have any options. I got to make it work. So really, when I got serious about it, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put this song out. I'm gonna try to get it to where it needs to be, so other people can hear this message. So I ended up recording it. I took it down to Ugly Money Music Summit, performed it in 2023. Went crazy on the socials for a little bit and tried to come back home, tried to cultivate, start building my brand a little bit more after that. And yeah, man, that's really what that started from.
Yeah, I feel like it's important to, take your music out to those summits and really get out there and experience what it's like to show people the craft and see, what comes from it. What were some of the responses you got, at some of those summits and such where you first started showing your music?
Oh man, it was crazy to love the networking that you gain when you go down there and you just put yourself out there in front of all these other people that are there to just experience good music and just make a connection. Really, it's really breathtaking. It really actually opened my mind to a different perspective of, a lot of times we box ourselves in, but if we are open to other things and other avenues, we can find that there's a lot of things that we're missing out on the table that's already there. So the networking aspect of it was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, yeah, you can't beat networking when it comes to making music. I feel like the music is nothing without, connecting with those other
Mhm.
people. What are some of the collabs that you've done when it comes to networking? Have you done a lot of music with other people? Is it released or where can we find it?
I'm currently in that state where I'm working more on collabs. I just now got to a point in my career where I want to start collabing more. But I did recently just do a collab with Davey Wave. You can go and check him out on Spotify and Apple Music. He released an album called Roots. The song I'm on with him is called Pass and Puff. Track number three, Super Fire. That's my most recent collab right now. But in the future, I definitely will be having some more collabs coming. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I think we need some more collabs because I feel like, your sound is something that's amazing. I can't wait to hear that when it's like compared to someone else's, not compared, but maybe complemented with, when you get like a combo deal. I would love to see what it would be like on some production collabs as well. Who are some of the producers that you like to work with?
That I would like to work with.
Yeah, yeah. Do you get your beats from YouTube or do you have someone in-house?
It's crazy. Like I have some beats that are in house that I've had from like 2018, and then I have a phase where I go through and I look for YouTube beats, and then here recently I've found a fire engineer and producer that he cooks up his beats too. So it really just depends on, I guess, where I'm at in that state. I guess it depends on how I'm feeling that day. Do I want a YouTube beat? Do I want a cooked up beat from in house? It really just depends. I like to keep it versatile so that way I keep my range open. I'm able to kind of hop on anything and kind of work on my craft. So that's how I like to approach that.
Yeah, and what about who you would like to work with when it comes to production? Anybody that we could see maybe reaching out to in the future to get some beats from?
I would love to actually work with Zaytoven. Honestly, that's a dream come true. I would love to work with Zaytoven if I could right
Yeah,
now
you
at
ever
this
tried
current
to
moment.
you ever try to produce yourself, like get on the keys yourself?
I'm learning that process. I'm more into the recording and the engineering aspect and trying to figure out, mix and mastering and things of that sort. As far as the beat production, it's never really been something that, I wanted to sit down and give all of my time to, but I definitely respect the person who does it because without them, I can't be who I am as the artist. So I definitely know it goes hand in hand. Sometimes I may sit down and dabble and try to figure it out, but I'm definitely more so into the recording aspect of it.
Yeah, I see the FL Studio on the screen behind you. Is that your recording DAW of choice, or have you ever used like Logic or Pro Tools?
Yeah, currently FL Studio. That's what I've been using as of late. I've been used BandLab before. I've used Logic Pro. And I mean, really, my favorite DAW to use really is BandLab. If you know what you're doing on your phone, you can make something pop. I mean, and you can put that on your computer too
Yeah.
if you know what you're doing. But sometimes you got to go and take it to a studio, like where I'm at right now, and get it, mixed and mastered and stuff like that too. You got to know when you got to integrate the field. So
Factuals. And so the studio you're at right now, is it an in-house studio or are you at some facility?
it's in house.
Yeah, that's fire. And so that's your
Yeah.
screen behind you, and so you set all this up yourself.
Oh no, this actually ain't my screen behind
Oh,
me.
okay, okay.
I'm at my homie's studio, but he's cooking up behind me right now. That's his screen.
Oh, okay. Factuals, factuals. I thought you maybe
Yeah,
watching a live stream or something. I'm like, man, they're working back there. And so is any of that your
yeah.
music? Is any of that your vocals in the back?
He got some of my vocals on there somewhere in the background. Somewhere he might have it, but right now he cooking up something that he got.
Factuals,
He got his
factuals.
headphones on right now. He can't even hear me right now.
Facts. And so when it comes to the music you've been releasing recently, was there a moment during this run of releases where you realized like you're not just dropping singles anymore, you're building bodies of work?
This I don't know if you know. As of late, I've been trying to push "Good Times," my single that's dropping on the 23rd of this month. I've been trying to post that up on my socials, going crazy on that. When I realized I had that song, and I've been sitting on that song for probably longer than I'm proud to say. But when I realized I had that song, I was like, okay, this is the moment where I need to start building the brand that I'm trying to establish with this music. There's
Mhm.
no more funny business. I don't got time to waste. I'm trying to be strategic and actually, get in front of people that need to know that these songs are out there. Because I'm not just making music for me at this point. At this point, I'm doing it for people that need to hear it. So as long as I can get it out, you know what I'm saying? even if I never even get paid, I just want people to hear it because I can't sit on it no more.
I got enough of it, man. So how many songs do you have in the vault? Is it hundreds, or have you reached 1,000, or where are you at right now?
I'm sitting on probably a good right now, probably ready to go, probably over 75. In the vault period, like 150, 150, 200, with more to come.
So
So
more to come. And so how
I'm
important
always
is it?
trying, yeah.
How important is it to have those songs, in the vault ready to go, versus some artists who, they hit a big moment and then they don't really have songs ready. They've got to make things on the cuff.
Honestly, I feel like, I respect the people that can do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's people that on the spot create better than people that might have an opportunity to plan and create. It's just some people work differently. But I feel like, um, personally, once you realize that you're at a certain point, I think it's pivotal to have the next thing in place because you don't want to get to a point where you start climbing the ladder and you realize that you don't have your footing on the next step to, keep going. So I really feel like once you realize that you have the sound that you want to really put in front of people, everything up until that point is experimental, and then once you get to that point, that's when you need to dial in and start making your plan and your rollout.
Yeah, and so how have you been making that rollout with the recent music? What are some things that you're aspiring to do now that it's 2026 when it comes to promoting the songs?
Well, example number one is this stuff like this right now. I've never actually, been one to reach out and do the whole video podcasting thing. I've, on the internet per se. I've always been more so to go to the studio and do the networking that way. So this is new for me because I realized I was at a point where, I wanted to do something different to get a different result. I've been doing it for about 8, 9 years, kind of trying to figure out my way on how to do this the correct way. I made a lot of mistakes, but after kind of documenting and figuring out, what works and what doesn't work, being able to kind of, notate and make a plan as I go, I've been kind of been able to gear, the direction I need to be.
Yeah, it's so important to have that plan in place, and I think the way you're executing it is going to work for you well, come 2026. And speaking of the progress, speaking of the story, when it comes to you as a brand, what part of the story do you think that people misunderstand when they first see you, and how does your music correct that? What's the difference between what you portray in the music and what people may assume in real life?
I think a lot of people may look at me and actually think that I don't make music off of first glance, just because of the way that in the public world, I really carry myself a certain way where I don't really bring a lot of attention to myself. So when I really started to try to be more brand specific, it was kind of like, okay, you got to be okay with actually, putting yourself, out there for people to kind of analyze and things of that sort. But I really feel like it's just important to realize that I don't want the person to take place of the song. I want the song to take place of the person. Like I want the song to embrace the person. I just want the song to be out. Me as the person, I'm just the vessel. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, or more so like how I'm uh presenting myself, as long as I'm getting the music out there per se. So as long as I do that, I really feel like everything else kind of falls into place. You know what I'm saying? If people get caught up in certain aspects of it and they lose their self or might lose their creation and get too deep and caught up in something to where they feel like they can't make music because it becomes something to where it's not like, oh, it's not just about the music now. It's about, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. But just focusing on the music and getting it out. That's where I'd like to be. That's where I like people to realize that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I had a piece of content today where I talked about all the other parts of being an artist that's not really making the music and how sometimes it can be a burden. So I definitely understand, where you're coming from there. What are some of the, trials and tribulations that you've gone through when it comes to this artistry?
Um, Going to labels, sitting down, asking them what it is that I need to do to make my brand better, getting told no, thinking that I was ready. You know what I'm saying? And you got to take it as a lesson. You can't take it as, oh, I lost. You got to take it as a lesson and figure out what it is that you can do to get yourself to be better prepared. Because a lot of people can get to that point, they can stop. They can stop making music. They can stop going in life. But it's how you get back up. You just gotta. You can't stop. That's what I tell people. It doesn't matter how long you're doing it or chasing it. But if you stop, you're not gonna do it at all. You're not gonna get nothing done. So you just have to keep keep fighting the good fight. You know what I'm saying? It gets hard, but there's a light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, there definitely is a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel like it's like that one meme where the guy's digging and there's diamonds, but he turns around and he doesn't keep
Yep.
digging, right? It's just like that.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
fast forward 5 years to when a new listener finds Marquise for the first time. What do you hope that they feel to understand about themselves through the music? Is it that, keep going mentality, or 5 years from now, what does the picture that's painted through the music look like for you?
The keep going mentality is probably the strong basis of my music. I like to take instances from my past and kind of make it to where it cultivated me to be to where I am now. And I like to paint the story of, if you push through the hard times that you had, you will get to the good times that you deserve. But you have to go through that process in between. So I feel like life in general is always about that, going through that process. So that's something that I'm going to always try to stick to in my music. I want people to be able to relate to the process. I don't want people to feel like things are what's the words, stimulated, I guess, per se. I want people to feel it in the moment.
Yeah, facts. And so you want them to relate to the process. Have you ever tried, bringing them into the process of you creating music? Have you ever filmed yourself in the studio making songs or live streamed it per se?
The crazy thing is, man, I just now got to a point where, I've been really dialing in on the type of content that I need to make and the type of content that I need to show people to be more relatable. And that's something that I have been thinking about doing, is showing people my actual recording process. But the thing about that is I'm going to have to figure out a way to, I probably have to get another phone involved, because it's crazy to think, but most of the songs that I have right now that I put out, I've actually recorded on my phone. So I've had to figure out how to mix and master on Band Lab and then take it to a studio to get it prepared and stuff like that. So I might have to do some screen recording or something like that, but I have been thinking about doing that.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's important to, find those ways to overcome needing all the studio equipment sometime. Just record on your phone, and hopefully they make it easier in order for us to take that part of it and showcase it to people. Maybe like with some Band Lab Live feature or something like that, right? Where it goes straight to TikTok and the camera is there and such. I think
Hmm.
that would be really dope. Are there any type of, businesses in that sense that you've thought about creating, in order to kind of fund the music?
Uh, Honestly, I've been thinking about, me personally, I've been doing a lot of research on, what the independent artist should and should not be doing.
Hmm.
So I feel like, that could be something that I could take and kind of give to other artists or other content creators, the whatnots to do and what to do's. And I don't know. I've been thinking about just trying to figure out other ways I can help, because it starts with being the change that you want to see. I wish that I could have somebody to help me. So if I could help somebody else, why would I not, be in that position? There's a lot of gatekeeping going on. And that's why nobody gets anywhere.
Right.
Nobody wants to help anybody get to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely think that would be a great way to get started. I think that, there's platforms that will really be really accepting to that, like TikTok. I think that's a place where they'll push a
Hmm.
lot of people your way, and it's no telling who they'll push towards you. In that sense, you could have a lot of people who love the niche that you're providing for them. Instagram,
Hmm.
a platform that maybe isn't showing as many people to your content. So keep that in mind, when you're building those businesses and trying to build them through the social media platforms. And so speaking of, building the businesses to fund the music, let's go back a little bit. How did you start getting into the music in the first place? You said that you have a character that, when people look at it, they may assume that you don't do music. So how did this begin for you?
It's crazy. I mean, really, from a child, I've always loved music. I grew up singing in the choir. I had the lead roles and all of that stuff. I've been in front of crowds, public speaking, things like that. But as you grow up, people trying to tell you to don't do the thing that you love, and you go through this process of, falling out of touch with yourself. But I came to a point where, I didn't know who I was anymore, but I knew that there was one thing that had always been true to me, which was music. So, I was at a point when I had got kicked out of home. I was walking down the street from my job that I was working at the time. I didn't have a car. Was just living at a house that didn't have no power, no heat. Was walking back from the job back to that apartment on Main Street, and I literally said to him, I was listening to J. Cole 2014 Forest Hill Drives. And I said to myself, as I was walking down the street, I was like, bro, there's no reason why you can't be in the position that he's in. You need to lock in. That from that moment on, that's when I reached out to my homies that was around the way. They had a little in-home studio. Went over there and recorded my first it was a trash song. It's not even released anymore. But at the time, it was hot because it was my first, like, oh my god, he recorded this song. It's so fire. But I don't know, man. It's just from that moment point when I was walking down the street, that's when I knew this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I think, that's the turning point for a lot of people. They say, when it's rock bottom, that's when you don't have any other option but to go
Uh-huh.
up. And it's good to see that, you have all these songs released now. You're in front of the camera so much on the socials, putting yourself out there, smiling, doing the content. Because I think that, when you practice those things every day, you embody that lifestyle. You know what I mean? And you kind of just become happy. When you're
Yes.
smiling every day on the camera, you're smiling every day off the camera, thinking about how you're doing it. So I think it's really
Yeah.
important to continue to do that. And so let's talk about you further down the line and what's something that you have as far as goals when it comes to the brand, when it comes to the artistry. Where do you see yourself maybe in 10 years with the music? Where do you want to be?
10 years, I definitely want to be touring. I definitely feel I could be in a situation where I'm touring, city to city or something like that. Even if it's just on like an indie campaign, like a little, like a 10 stop tour. It doesn't have to be something major. Just something to get my name, out there more than what it is, and to really probably at that point, I'm probably hopefully resonating with the fans I've built over the years. So I would hope to be just still spreading that energy. That's why I say in the beginning, I'm all about energy. If I can give you the energy that you need, I've done my job. You know what I'm saying? I think it needs to start with that. So being present in the moment with the energy, delivering what you need for, the feelings in the moment of what it is. I think that's what I want to be doing with it.
Yeah, and I think you'll definitely be there. It's been a fantastic time talking to you, a workshop. And like you said, just keep going and, having the resilience in order to go from times when you're down and, chase a passion and see where that takes you. I think that it's going to take you far. It's going to take the brand far, Marquise, the artist, and the person, from your middle name all the way to the top of the stage. Before we get out of here, though, is there anyone else that you want to shout out that's really helped you along the way? Who are some of the people that have really, done some things for you in the music that you can't look over?
Huh. It all starts back in the sticks, man. I gotta shout out my bro, even though he don't produce no more. 18, he cooked up my first beat. 18 cooked up my first beat, but that's my guy right there. And Dream Lab Studios, he's still on Instagram, but Dream Lab Studios, they did my first music videos, my first songs. I'm always keeping solid with them, bro. They gave me what the start I needed to get. So definitely want to shout them out.
That's fire, man. Sometimes all you need is that jump start. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming
Hmm.
through and vibing out with us, Marquise, chilling out with us on the peak. If you guys are just now tuning in, be sure to follow the GOAT on all platforms. Can you spell your Instagram for us?
Yes, for sure. That's Octavian Marquise, OCTAVIONMARQEECE.
That's Marquise, and this is Don Father signing off. Until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. For sure, man. Good job, bro. Thank you so much, Marquise, for coming and chatting with us, bro.
Yes, sir. I got you, bro. Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.